happening, everyone? Are you tired of seeing streams going? Are you tired of streamers doing their best to get you the best information possible and just going out of their way to participate in this exciting time and try to figure out some of these concepts and what the heck is going on, right? If you saw my tweet earlier, I come across that. I think Axis actually tweeted it first, funny enough, and he put it in the picture for this stream, and I didn't even see it. So I thought, oh, I was one of the first ones to tweet it, but I think Axis actually was probably the first one to even talk about the potentially interesting. Again, it's not like this, to me, it's not like this obvious no-brainer. Oh, well, that means, mainnet is like tomorrow. But it's certainly interesting when anyone tries to merge a branch that talks about mainnet and different updates around that. And I'm sure people were Control F, block 4 kite, and all that. I know I was trying to look for some stuff in it, but could be grasping for straws. However, it was very exciting, and I don't usually tweet about anything unless I think there's something to it. Even if I can't fully explain what it is, it looked like an interesting update to me. And we're one moment closer, aren't we? One moment closer. Anyways, let's bring it in because we're gonna go for about an hour, maybe hour 15 or something today. I know all these gentlemen, we've all had a long day, but we're gonna try to bring it for the next within 90 minutes or so. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Dev Juyoung and Axis Alive. What's happening, gentlemen?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Axis, how you feeling today?
First time streaming together. I'm feeling good, man. I just got off a private call, and it went well. I got to be my raw and unfiltered self and talk trash about all the altcoins, so it was pretty fun. But nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm here, man, and with any bit of luck, we might see mainnet launch in the next 48, 55 minutes.
48, 55 minutes. I was like 48 hour minutes. We're at minutes now. Okay. All right.
Richard has been tweeting more than usual today.
I wouldn't. I haven't even checked it for the last couple hours, and that is blasphemy. You should be checking that shit every hour, right? It's hard to keep up. There's so much going on. Did want to introduce a new shirt, everyone. A new shirt. If you're at the Hexpo meetup in Miami, you can receive one of these for free, absolutely free.
How many beats is it? Oh, it's free. Okay, I was gonna ask how many beats does that cost?
That costs you friendship, just from our friends on me. Friendship with the E-N. Yes. Yeah, that's the fun thing. I actually got a few shirts to give away.
We'll just do friend with a Z.
We can be friends. You chocolate chip cupcake baby doll. Yeah, he has some great lines. You don't even know why some of them are relevant, but he makes them into meaning. He makes meaning for those words, like the pointy elbows. Like, what does that even mean? It means something good because he says it best.
Straight back.
I mean, no, straight back. Yeah, but pointy elbows and like the knees one. Like, I was like, what does that even mean? But it's good. It gets the people going.
I was like, what the?
Yeah, the bananas. Yeah, he's hilarious, man. He's a character and also bringing a lot of very interesting information. So, our friend Somi, it's been killing it lately. He does like 3. I feel like I wake up and there's 3 videos, like 20-minute videos from him.
Yeah, he's like your rapid fire. He's like he's building this archive of videos like every day. He's like late into the night. He's just building this huge archive of videos, and then they just boom, boom, boom. You wake up and it's like, too much Somi, too much.
I know. I've been doing like 3 clips a day.
Man, here I'm trying to do actual work, and then it's like, bam, you just hit me with it all at once. So I was like, I'm putting it on 2x and going one to the next to the next.
Pretty much throughout the day, it's like, oh yeah, this looks interesting. Let me hit this one up. But yeah, man, I'm glad I can get you both on here. I know. So have you guys streamed together before?
It's first time for me, and dude, just since it's my first time, I just wanted to say thanks for building HSI Watch because I've been using it since like V1. And it's awesome. And now that we have like a crappy staker app, now I have something else to use. So it's pretty nice,
Yeah, when I started, I never thought like I looked at like staker app was like I never thought I would reach that level. You know what I mean? Like I'm just I was really surprised when everybody started using it. And if you remember V1 and how slow it was, it's really come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that.
Way better UX, way better. You get different templates now you can put on, and it just I mean it's come together quite nice. It's a pretty usable product now, I would say. And who knows, man? The sky's the limit for you now. So I just props to you for putting that together and providing that. And I use it regularly, many times a week. I'll go there and I'll use it. So Thanks.
I appreciate it. I'll be adding over the weekend. I was actually planning on doing Maximus DAO tokens, and then I pivoted over to adding in some trying to get the PulseChain testnet, price values, USD price values, Pulse price values into HSI Watch. So hopefully here in the next week or two before mainnet launches, I'll have that. You'll be able to see your hex balance on the PulseChain testnet and PulseX, Pulse, everything. So hopefully this week.
Cool, man. Keep grinding, baby. We use it. So
2 more days. HSI Watch full upgrade V2. Is that right?
V3, yeah.
V3. Oh, V3. Yeah, dude, the color schemes are amazing. Anyone who wants to see a demo that we did a couple weeks ago, I don't know if Juyoung wants to go through anything today, but we did a demo a few weeks ago or so. Time travels. I have no idea. We did I think a few weeks ago, and just you can change the color schemes. Just this beautiful fades in and out of different hex and PulseChain colors, and white. White was like Arctic.
I'm using
like
that
snow.
one on mobile. I like that.
It's amazing. Yeah, mobile support.
Yeah, I did, like those colors were just completely by accident. I just like plugged in random colors, and somehow it turned out presentable. So
It's great, man. Doing a
You're
great
good
job.
of mixing the dev side and then the user experience and the visual side, because a lot of times when you're either one or the other, but in your case, it's coming together real well. So you're a one-man army.
well, I made a lot of mistakes to get there. So fortunately with V1, I had all the calculations I had already programmed, and then when V2 came along, I met a good friend named ChatGPT who was able to give me some pretty good pointers on UI design. So I hopped onto a couple template websites, and I used them as reference while I was programming. So, but yeah, no, I appreciate all the comments.
Dude, there's a question here. Just like, might as well just dig in. Matthew Bray was asking right at the very top, one of the first questions, like, do you think Hex will pump above V3 testnet price before launch? Do I think it can? Yeah. Do I think it will? Probably not. Do I think it can? Yeah, I do. I think it can go to 20 cents. That's no problem for Hex to do. It's just we need to get out of this territory, man. It's been rough out there for people that didn't see it coming. But when we got to 12.5, there was a lot of action in the chart. We were live actually on RHMax with Crypto Sloth, and we were going over some TA, and then I wasn't paying attention to the chat, and all of a sudden it just started like moving really fast, and then I looked over and I was like, oh, testnet V3's live, and then the candle started to print, right, and we went up like 40% while we were live over the 11-cent level, and so that was pretty
I never wanted to interrupt anyone so bad, but I was like, no, I will not. Chat's like, do it. I'm like, no, I will respect this gentleman. He will finish, and then we'll talk about V3.
And then I just saw a starstruck RHMax where he like couldn't even contain his excitement, and he was just like blown away. It's like all he saw on screen was like the cosmos or something. Like he had figured out the universal law.
That's a good way of describing it. This is the first time I got emotional, I think, on stream, because something you've been waiting for forever. I mean, it feels like, and it's like, wow, this thing's actually happening. We're making huge steps, and seeing that was just like this huge relief of like, okay, we're good now. They did this. We're on the right path. It just cleared up a lot of it wasn't negative energy, but it was just like unknown energy.
I feel for you because there was a lot of people like yourself. You're one of the main ones that was out there, has been talking so much about PulseChain and PulseX for so long. And then what we saw with Crypto 7 recently, where he kind of expressed his disdain toward the fact that mainnet wasn't out yet, finally on day 406, like he just couldn't take it another day or another week. And so I thought that was kind of funny, but props to you guys for being out there talking about it, in a sort of like a conceited sort of way. I just have not had interest in talking about PulseChain, and I'm just always been on the Hex bandwagon because it's all built for Hex, right? And so that's kind of where my focus has been, and so I didn't have to deal with all the pressure of that and talking about it and expectations. So props to you guys for bringing eyes to the ecosystem, and we needed it, and we're almost there. So all your hard work's going to pay off.
That's why like launching in a bear market is cool, because number can go up. A lot of your stuff, you can get a running start into the next cycle, but also you have to endure. You have to endure for a while, hundreds of days. Could be thousands sometimes. But yeah, that's it's crazy. You got to stay positive.
I mean, no kidding. If they're anything like me, when I first started investing in Hex, I was drowning in debt. My friend tried to get me into Hex like right when it launched, and I told him maybe later, I got to pay my debts. And I kind of sat on it, and after a while of paying, it was like, and seeing the debt just stay the same even though I paid it off, I was like, I'm just going to try investing in Hex. And it really changed my life. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in the situation where they're like invested in Hex, they're invested in PulseChain, they're really anxious to see it launch because they feel like it's going to bring them that financial freedom that they've been looking for. Probably a lot of people struggling out there.
Oh, dude, and even people that bought Hex at the top in 40 cents or whatever, and they set stakes out till now. Imagine watching Gwei get down to like 15 for so many months, and they staked at the top, and now their stakes have come due now, and Gwei is sitting above 75 right now. It's like you're probably down on your investment, and you paid to do it. It's like that's the ultimate, having to hold through the pain, and so like if they can, those that persevere through this period and wait, this is why. In answer to Ted Nelson's question, will PHEX and EHEX reach $1 this born? They will. It will, because of the rubber banding effect of all of those who can take it, that capitulate the lows. Those are the ones that give rocket fuel to price longer term. All that coin gets redistributed into the many hands that's down here accumulating the lows, right? Whales will come in and suck up a ton of the supply at these levels, and then who's going to have the hundreds of millions of hex? Eventually to stop the run up when demand really picks up, and you have a place where you can use hex the way it was intended, right, on PulseChain. So yeah, hex can get both of the hexes can reach $1. Which one first or whatever, this is always up for debate, but I think we'll see that this cycle.
I think wow, I wanted to jump into too, just on the previous question we talked about Hex, what it's going to do. I think, talking to a lot of people the last few weeks, there seem to be two major camps in the community. Like one is like Hex is going to the moon, maybe parity, EXPX parity. They want their copies, they got their liquid, they got their stakes, their bags are loaded. And the other camp's like Hex is going to dump, they want to get their dry powder, get ready to pick up, if PulseChain and PulseX, dump after launch, they're going for that angle. That's what I want to explore with you two. Like, what, I guess, could you make a case for both sides? Like, which one do you think is more likely?
I mean, I personally think, there's those two kinds of people. The people who dump their hex to get dry powder for Pulse, I think, are going to buy Pulse, and on PulseChain then probably move that into Hex, where they can actually use it and stake and unstake with reasonable gas fees. And I think that's going to be a lot of upwards pressure on Hex on the PulseChain. And I think that the people doing that on the Ethereum chain, obviously it's going to push the price down, and Axis knows way more about this stuff than I do, so I may be completely wrong. But I would imagine that a low price on Ethereum is going to attract a lot of buyers. And I think that Hex in both chains has pros and cons. One of the pros of the Ethereum chain being that with the high unstaked gas fees, a lot of the smaller stakers are going to move to PulseChain. So there's probably going to be less staking going on there, which means that there's the potential for more daily payout per T-share on Ethereum for those that do have big T-shares on there. And then with PulseChain, I think there will probably be a lot more staking due to the gas fees, and that could drive the share rate up. But I'm just guessing. So
Yeah, I think you're right. I think like the frequency of staking is going to be a higher rate on PulseChain because it'll be more affordable, but the frequency of staking on Ethereum will be less, but the size of the stakes will be bigger. So it's just a function of size and frequency, right? So both ecosystems are going to have value. For example, if you pull up the screen share here, I can show you what happened, back here. Just a few weeks ago, this was back in February, a whale stepped in at this price, roughly around 5.2 cents, and bought 1,000 ETH worth of Hex off the market and staked it till May 6th, and then bought again at 8.2 cents somewhere in this general region here. But it wasn't. I'm sorry, it was on the come down here, and staked that till May 6th. So the combined stakes he ended was worth $35,000, and he paid a $260 gas fee here yesterday, and it was still in profit, right, in terms of the first purchase, because that was at 5.2. We traded at 6.6 yesterday. So he's up on the first, down on the second. The net is that he made 35,000 in dollars of Hex in yield in 2 months. So there's definitely a market here, even if like Hex stayed flat forever at 5 cents. Like ETH whales can take portions of their thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Ethereum economic energy, put it into Hex and see a return. So it's a no-brainer that Ethereum is going to get bought up off the lows. And the reason why I can support that is by when you look at this chart, you see it's in a clear uptrend. I have this channel like basically going through here. This is like the general fair value channel that I see on Hex. And then also for you, I have the yellow 200-day moving average. And the last time we really played with the 200-day from the top side coming down into it was back here around Big Payday, where before Big Payday, we came down into it, traded 2 weeks below it, popped up above, sideways, held it as support, broke off going into Big Payday. And then after the inflation increased by 30%, per stake or whatever, the total network basically grew 30% more. I think it was like 200-ish billion Hex came into creation at that day. All of that extra inflation was then dumped off, and then the price went below the 200-day moving average and traded below for about 3 weeks before rising back above and then going up to eclipse the all-time high within 4 weeks after that, right? So what this did was it was a drop in price. It was about a 60% drop to test the bottom of this parallel channel. And I'm looking for the same thing here, is where, you're going to get a certain class of people that can't afford Ethereum gas fees, and they're going to make an exodus off of the Ethereum chain. And so, what that looks like is a test of the 200-day again. And if they're successful, the price can drop, upwards of 60% to test these lows. But however, because there's not that much liquidity sitting below 3.2 cents, that's going to be short-lived and then should be bought back up quite rapidly back into the anchor position between 3.2 and 5.4 cents. And I can show you that now on the thanks to a tool made by this guy named Memecoins. He built us like a live liquidity viewer inside of the chart itself. So like if you go to Trading View and you look up the Hex USDC chart, I like to use the daily, and I'll pull up the LP bands. It looks like the LP bands have changed. Let me see if I can get the most recent loaded in data here. Indicators. 1 second. Freezing. All right. So the way I like to look at this is like basically you have this anchor position of liquidity sitting here between 3.2 cents and 5.4 cents. And that's been in there for almost 700 days. Let me brighten it up a little bit so you can really see what I'm seeing. And that's significant because no matter what happens in terms of after the fork, that liquidity will likely not move. And so I'm calling it the anchor LP because it's really where the market can count on there being liquidity. And so, the market's basically valuing somewhere between 7.5 and 5.9-ish cents in this general region. This is like where the market is setting liquidity and taking risk to give a trading range for the price. And this is the base liquidity that's been set by one of the system's biggest players, potentially the OA, and that has not moved in 700 days. So if there is an exodus off, it's going to take like $3 to $5 million of pressure to push the price down to here. And then anyone that gets stuck down here at 3.2 cents will capitulate, and this thing can wick low. But because there's nothing out here to buy or sell, someone will buy, like, get a sweet deal at 2 cents, and they'll push the price right back up into this range and make it resume. So it's more of in favor of the those that want the whales that want to accumulate this range and just absorb millions of dollars of a hex inside of this range of 3 to 5 cents in the event that it does get sold off, right? And then likely you'll see people exit their LP positions here leading into the fork because they might want to keep their coin. A lot of this has already disappeared because mainnet might be coming.
Right. Are there signs of people, accumulate, or, I think at least a month ago, the popular thing was accumulating hex, EHEX to get your hex, 12 cents. Everyone got excited. You mentioned about that with V3 and stuff too. Are people betting on hex not dumping and PX being valuable at the ratio trading period? Or are they betting on, hey, I think hex is going to go down. I want the dry powder to pick up the PLS and PLSX dump. Do you see anything?
All the above. All the above, man. We can't know what happens on the other side of the fork other than everything's supposed to start at 0, right? In terms of dollar value. So, but ratios, I mean, different stuff has happened on each testnet release in terms of like the action that occurred. Like in a couple of versions of the testnet, PHEX just went to the moon, right? And then, so what happened? I don't know. Do people use their PHEX to flood into PulseChain to chase the new shiny object? Do they dump PulseX for Pulse because that's what they have more of? There are a lot of the questions that you can ask, and the plays that can be made after the fork are many. There's no one way to play it. I think there's the simple thing here is if you're sitting on dry powder, I'll give you this, which is that if you're sitting on dry powder in a stablecoin, because there is a question about stablecoins here that we're going to answer in a little bit, you may want to put like a little bit of LP down here, because like, what do you care if you get the forked coins of stable coins on the network, on the new network anyway, because they probably won't have anywhere near $1 value, right? I'm assuming they won't. I don't know that for sure, but assuming that they're not going to have anywhere near $1 value, then you might not care, and you might actually get a higher return in the event of a sell-off and high slippage by setting some, USDC here or here, where you can capture a lot of the volume on those capitulation wick lows potentially, and just earn fees, or potentially pull that position quickly if you're actively managing that position, and get hex at like 2 cents again, right? This would be the last call. Now, I personally don't want to think that we're going to head down here. I really don't on EHEX, and PHEX can start very, very low, but I think it's actually going to get bought up. I think people are thinking of it as like a second chance to get hex at a new price and a chain where you can use it as it was designed to be used.
Well, what is the case? So, we have retail and we have whales, and they have different intentions. They're looking at different factors, but what is the case for hex just mega dumping? And then what is the case for, and people, looking for the dry powder, look for the 10,000X, that narrative. And then what is the case for it not? And I mean, do we think that OA is going to step in and do anything too? Everyone's talked about parity on and off too, but like, what is the case for and against it?
Mm-hmm. Juyoung, do you want to tackle any of those?
I mean, I'm just personally just throwing this out there. I think that PX is going to do very well. I think that a lot of the people who want to be whales in Hex, or people who have made a lot of money already in EHEX and maybe moved to a stable coin right now on Ethereum, I think when they move into PulseChain, I think they're maybe banking on hopefully getting like a below SAC rate price. It might not get there, or they may have had stakes that came out after the SAC was already finished, and they want to up. They think they'll have a better return if they buy Pulse off the market and then immediately move it into Hex. But I think that there's still like a bunch of hype and a lot of people that want to get into Hex, and that tension's been building over 2 years. And just with everything going on and everybody kind of going crazy this past month, I mean, I and nobody knows, not financial advice, but I think the people who are holding and get their copies of PHEX are going to do very well. They're going to be very pleasantly surprised, is my personal thoughts.
Is there a way that retail, just the onboarding, the publicity, the new people coming in, they overtake whatever say the whales are like, no, we're dumping X, we're using dry powder for PulseChain and PulseX. Is there a way for just the massive onboarding, if that happens, to just kind of cancel it out or push it the other way?
Yeah, of course. But we don't even need them for that to occur, because look at all the people that sacrifice for PulseChain here. They want their T-share count back. They don't. they're going now. They have an opportunity to buy it down in here. Like if they haven't already, they're looking to take some of their Pulse and PulseX positions and buy back their T-share position that they sacrificed up here at a huge discount. So any kind of sell-off in EHEX will likely get bought back up by big whales looking to accumulate back their T-share position, right? And again, if you take this fractal out, it literally is like it's a spinning image of what came before. So you could just drag this out. The law of increasing time over time the market gets heavier, right? So then so it's something like this, right? It's getting longer, but the move is the same, because even from bottom to top here on Big Payday was 600% from bottom to top leading into testnet B3, 600%. It's literally pound for pound playing out the same exact way. Why wouldn't this sell off to the bottom of this trend? And then why wouldn't those guys that sacrificed here that are big want to buy back their positions here on this massive discount and then cover that 200-day moving average that becomes support leading into mid-end of the year, and then you really start to take out these higher resistance levels.
And there's so many different. I mean, that's the thing. We're getting down to, and we feel like we're in the end zone. We're like very close. We're at the 5-yard line. We're getting really close to. We're gonna punt. We're gonna try to run it in. Man, it's. I was gonna talk to the chat for a moment too. Axe, do you have anything else in terms on the charts you want to show while we got it up?
In terms of like just the, you can pull on the chart. In terms of like the argument of parity and forced parity and all this and that, can't know that stuff, but it makes a lot of sense to try to make Hex the universal conduit by which all economic energy flows through, in the same way that Bitcoin was the economic powerhouse in the early days of cryptocurrency, right? Like in order to get into any altcoin, you needed to have Bitcoin. This was like pre-Tether days. And then once Tether became an option, then you started to see trading volumes shift more out of Bitcoin and into, because there was now a tether pair for a lot of these coins, right? So, we live in a whole new world now where now the limiting factor is gas fees. It's no longer the asset, but if you're talking about where the economic value is in terms of like what did the most returns, where is the new heavy inflation in terms of like productive money coming from, it's from Hex staking, it's from Hex. And now you're going to have it on two chains, and it could be binded by its liquidity in such a way that value is that immutable economic policy, and that value element of it is just the glue that ties the whole system together, and that everything rides on the coattails of Hex price performance, right? So it's, Johnny KS lays that out, at length, and I think there's a case for that too. So ultimately, they're all going to perform well against the dollar. The dollar just doing that, they're just going down, man. So it's like it's a waiting game, right? It's a war of attrition and waiting for all the volatility to settle out. The guys that were over leveraged in Pulse, they can sell their positions off on a 10x or whatever it's going to be, and then it gets redistributed to all the people that need a cheaper, more efficient, Ethereum clone to build on.
Do not poke J Powell right now. He's not in the mood. Not in the mood. That guy. I wanted to say too. I think that maybe wouldn't it be amazing if that defeated the narrative that, hey, the 10,000x is with Pulse and PulseChain, PulseChain and PulseX. Hex is the old thing. It doesn't have anything left. Wouldn't it be amazing if like everyone was just, what? It all starts with Hex. It all ends with Hex. Richard loves Hexicans. OA loves Hexicans. Wouldn't it be amazing if that narrative was just defeated and Hex just mooned like crazy, and then PulseChain and PulseX still went up too, but it was like, if Hex was like undefeated, if it came out of this undefeated, wouldn't that just be the most amazing outcome?
I think Juyoung probably agrees that that's kind of like the train tracks that we're on right now. It's a perfect setup for Hex to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's my sentiment, was that with the high gas fees right now and everything going on, the people who are long-term stakers right now are the real winners, because once PulseChain launches and brings some of that economic energy from Ethereum, hopefully that helps the gas fees a little bit. But with a majority, I think, of the stakers moving to PulseChain, again, the daily payout might be greater on Ethereum, and with the fork, now they have their T shares on both chains. To be honest, the real winners probably the people who have been bidding on the auctions in like the past couple months, because they're not only getting the HSIs on Ethereum, but they're bidding on T shares for both chains. And yeah, if Hex does well on either chain, they're going to be very happy.
Mm-hmm. That's a whole other element to that. You know, that it's almost like unfathomable that the market is like not valuing long-term Hex T shares right now, and to such a degree that I've had people in my group literally, shout out to Corey Geary, he was one of them, that were able to accumulate HSIs 50 T shares a pop for 85% off. You know, with only like $4,000 Hedron, they were able to accumulate $8,000 of T shares, you know, per pop. You know, it's like, and the fact that the market is so mismatched and so unsure on where fair value sits. You know, obviously here, some people thought Hex was worth like 13 cents in March, but in January they thought it was worth 1 cent. So the market doesn't know what they're worth right now. You know what I'm saying? So I think we're going to have a rude awakening when PulseChain mainnet launches, and now all of a sudden the bull market's back on, right? And it's going to be fun times, man. And just like again, so when I first went live for Maddie's stream, it was the Hex conference in January. I think it was around January 8th or 9th. We were here at the bottom, so we were out here around the bottom here. And back then I didn't have this channel here. I was actually drawing a channel down like this because we hadn't seen any upside. So I was just like basically saying, all right, we got to get above this line here. And we did, right? We did that. We got above it here. And now we're testing that as support from the top side. And that's really good. That's bullish, right? We want to see that breakout, retest, and resumption off that level leading into mainnet. That's perfect. Any wick lows is good price action. We've already confirmed that, you know, the bottom's in, so to speak. But what I did was I took this Fibonacci extension tool from the low to and I pushed it out here. I don't know if I did 10 cents or what I did, and then brought it back down like this. And then you can kind of get an idea of what targets look like in terms of where the price can go into the bull run. And so like now that we actually have like a recent local high and now a pullback level and a retest of the base, the farther down that this goes on this retracement before resuming higher kind of dictates how high the price can go. But as of right now, you know, your first 1618 target is sitting around $1.12 roughly, and then the next level after that is $7.78 per unit. And that's like the overall, like where you could see Hex prices go somewhere between, obviously that's a huge range, $1 to $7 is a big range, but I think that's realistically where you can see Hex price going into the future, especially under conditions where you have massive waves of new adoption and people that were previously gatekeeping and not talking about Hex and PulseChain, now they start talking about it. And the ease of use of going to the PulseX website and just clicking the button to switch to RPC, all that usability and ease of use and is going to make people comfortable to come into that ecosystem and then maybe take a stab at Hex, right? And if it's already printing green candles, as we've seen here, you know, tons of people started buying once we were at 5 cents. They didn't really want to buy it down here. Volumes were relatively low, but you know, as you got up here, you know, more and more daily purchases were happening, and so like people do chase green candles, and this can lead to some sort of massive parabolic move going into this bull market.
Let me just say, if anybody ever questioned like the real value of T shares, or like, well, why stake? On HSI Watch, I have a chart for daily payouts. You can put in anybody's wallet into HSI Watch. You can see the number of T shares they have. If you scroll down to that chart, you can see how much Hex each day that those T shares have produced for that person. And some of these stakes are absolutely crazy. And if you click on the US dollar icon on the left side of the navigation bar, you can actually see that value in US dollar too, and it's just it's crazy, especially if you are considering the fact that Hex might go up in the future. What it shows on that chart right now does not. I mean, it's in terms of Hex's US dollar value today, you know, but in the future, who knows what that's going to be.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, HSIWatch.com if anyone wants to try it out while we're doing the stream
right now, but I'm pretty sure that I have all my shit loaded in and I can't want to dox.
I figured, I was like, I'd say if you were going to do it, Axis already pulled up by now. Yeah. Hey, let me post this one question, then we'll move on to LP. But to answer this, and I'll be right back, everyone.
All right, so Mark T asks, so maybe I could sell my EHEX during the ratio trading days. So I keep my PHEX bag and then put the EHEX money into USDCs to buy up cheap PHEX. Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Juyoung?
So is it sell my EHEX during the ratio trade? Is that like right when PulseChain launches?
Yeah, I think that's what he means. Is just like basically you get the copy, then you sell right away.
I mean that could be, you know, like I'm just so skeptical to get rid of any hex on either chain because I'm personally like I feel very bullish about both chains. Like yes, it could temporarily drop and there could be like a window where you could potentially come out with more hex or more value, but you'd have to be really good at timing markets. And in my experience, when I sell hex, the price goes up, and when I buy hex, the price goes down. So, so I just try and hold, you know. But you know, once Pulse Chain launches, again, everybody is super excited for the launch, and if they're bridging their value into Pulse Chain and then moving it into P hex, that window might be very small. You know, it'd be very hard to predict what that's going to do.
Yep, you're fighting fire there. Like essentially, like if you're asking that question, it implies that you don't have enough economic energy in dollars or stables right now to make that play. And so I would actually advise against potentially doing that. Because you could get more hurt long term by losing part of your position during that volatile phase. You know, more of what you'd want to do is you'd want to have new money coming into the ecosystem, setting up limit orders or setting up an LP position here to catch a dip potentially if you do get that right, versus trying to time. Just use of what happened in the past. Like if it happens like here, you get a 40 to 60% drop below the 200-day, which puts you at around 2 to 3 cents. And this is the general region where you'd want to set limit orders. And because you could see this thing go down into mainnet, it could go up and then down into mainnet. We could honestly just chop sideways like this, and then you get rinsed and washed in this whole period, and you end up selling the low here and then buying back high. It could get messy. So
yeah, well, and not only that, but I guarantee like there are probably some whales that moved into stables and they're expecting EHEX to dump, and as soon as that price goes down, they're going to move back in. So I mean, at least that's been my experience. Like I always do the bad trade, and then I you know basically shoot myself in the foot. I've learned my lesson. Yeah, but it can be risky.
So then crypto berries, another question, if limit orders are available and we have the coins, would setting a ridiculous ratio be an option? Of course it would. If you can set limit orders and you want to set like moonshot limit orders, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's relatively cheap or free to do on PulseX. So there's so much optionality over there. We've actually, in part of our LP course that CryptoSoft and I did, we showed an example of somebody who set liquidity on Deci between 70 and 80 cents per Deci. For those that don't know, Deci is a 10-year hex stake that's been tokenized into a coin so that you can trade the coin. Anyway, this coin, obviously hex is not trading at 70 to 80 cents, but he set liquidity out there and then limit orders on top of the liquidity range, and he was able to accrue fees like an insane amount because he was the only one that set liquidity out in that range. And an MEV bot came in and spiked because it's so illiquid on Deci. I think there's only like $400,000 of liquidity over there. Spiked the price all the way up and arbitraged and did a sandwich attack on somebody's order, and he made like $400 in fees with a relatively small investment. And then also, if you had limit orders set in the same range, you could have gotten stable coins for your for whatever asset you're trading out of. So there's always going to be moon bag plays like that, and you should be thinking strategically like that with small segments of your portfolio, 1 to 5%.
I think the most interesting thing I'm looking forward to after PulseChain launches is about 6 months afterwards, seeing the data of, we actually have a chart for these coins. And we can see like all these decisions, how they actually played out. And then we can also see the ability for people to make mistakes, the ability for people to come back from those mistakes. Like we're going to see all kinds of psychology on the chart, and a lot of people are going to be talking about how they lost it a lot. Maybe ratio trading, maybe maybe doing LP in certain unwise ways. And there's going to be a lot of winning too. People are going to say, "Oh my gosh, like, let me tell you about, I got in at this crazy price and it spiked up here." And that's what I'm super excited about. I want to see the 6 month stats after we launch of just all the exciting stuff that's going to happen. But with that, let me take access off the screen for a moment.
Yep.
And get into share mine and talk about the first LP conversation. This is a tweet that Juyoung shared with me earlier. I thought was interesting, something to riff on a little bit, from Optimus Kevtron. Shout out to Optimus Kevtron. Something I've noticed over the last few months, the majority of big sells have been increments to 250K, most coming from different wallets. Is there a secret to buying and selling 250K at a time, or is it possibly all these wallets are working together? Yeah, I don't know the best way to frame that one as far as riffing on, but what do you guys think is interesting about this one?
I mean, I personally, I haven't done any analysis on it or anything like that, but I mean, would it be strange that somebody would want to keep the hex price down so that the people who have liquid hex would not be able to just sell at the top and just move straight into Pulse? Like, would it be advantageous for somebody to try and keep the price down so that they have the advantage when it launches? And then when people do try to inevitably sell their EHEX because they're like, hey, I want to move into PulseChain, that then they just use that dry powder the opposite direction, buy EHEX, and get it at an even bigger discount than they were holding it before. Like,
I think
I
that's
wouldn't
really
put it past anybody out there.
Yeah, and of course, with this, there's always coordination going on. I know for a fact that that's what's occurred over the bear market. But yeah, I mean, like the pools, they fill up with hex, then some big accumulator absorbs all the supply like really quickly. And so it's just a cycle of inflows and outflows. And right now we're just in that cycle where somebody's, suppressing, somebody or a group is suppressing price to keep it, just like Juyoung said, in an optimal range where it's not so high of a value that everyone's going to run for the exit, because there's always that contemplation right now. At this price, do I buy or sell? But at 20 cents, it wouldn't have been a contemplation. People would have just sold, which is why we got what we got after testnet B3. So it's really in a sweet spot right now, just hovering right above that anchor liquidity between 3 and 5 cents, where so much volume has traded over the last year, right? And so it's just setting up a really nice base for a beautiful parabolic bull run.
It's what we want. Here's another question from the community question. Everyone, when I ask community questions, if you answer them and put in good stuff like this, then I'll try to get to them on streams. And today, here we go from @blobfishking. Will DAI be the best stable coin to bridge in? And we're talking about this in the green room, how to frame, is this an LP type of question? What Blob Fish King, if you're in the chat, feel free to add on to it as well, but we'll try to riff on it. Yeah, what do you guys think as far as stable coins, LP, bridging them in? I think Axis may have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think, so if you're just looking to swap a stable coin for that, is going to be for sure $1 value, assuming that these things hold their peg, during mainnet, when the bridge goes live. It doesn't matter what stablecoin you're going to use. You can use whatever stablecoin you're comfortable with. DAI, USDC, Tether, it doesn't matter. Bridging that stuff over across and using that to swap is good. Now, I would say the one reservation I have is, like, if you see no Tether on PulseChain and it's all like USDC or it's all mostly DAI, then if you tried to swap Tether for wrapped Tether from Ethereum over there, then there's going to be a really high fee because there's going to be no liquidity to swap from, right? Or there might be no liquidity at all initially. So some big guy's going to have to come over and provide liquidity And usually what that looks like in the Ethereum world is like people come in with Tether, DAI, and USDC, and they pair them against each other so that there is a liquidity pool there, so that there's always going to be dollar liquidity across all those main stablecoins, right? So, but after that's all up and running, like a fine-tuned engine, then yeah, it doesn't really matter what stablecoin you're going to bridge in. On the other hand, if you're going to be thinking in terms of like big bag plays and LP positions, then perhaps you'd want to use the stablecoin that's most advantageous to you in your size. Because if your relative size is like multi-millions, and you want to wrap that and bring it over, you could actually set the ratio on certain pairs by using wrapped DAI, for example, or wrapped USDC, and then in some exotic pair where you're like the main market maker. So it just that kind of changes things, and it can get more competitive if you're going to pair up like wrapped USDC versus P-Hex is going to be a very popular pair because we're comfortable to using Ethereum's USDC on Ethereum anyway. So there will be that familiarity element there, and so that'll be a more competitive pool where fees might not be as good. Because you'll be competing against the other guys doing the same. So that's stuff to think about.
Gotcha. I got another community question here from Marco Marcelo asked, when PLS launches, let's say it does a 20x the first day, show us how to sell off a portion, and what are we selling back into? Is it Hex? Is it USDC? Great question. And it's something I think maybe we're all wondering in one form or another. How do you, if there's no bridge, what are you selling into? How do you take profits? What do you guys think about that?
I think it's pretty simple. It's just you go into whatever the ratio is out of favor, because you want to say, all right, let's already set the tone that P-Hex, PulseChain, and PulseX are going to be valuable. All right, if we can agree on that, you're just looking for whatever is less in demand right now, because the ratio is going to be really bad. And so if it's one PulseX, or I'm sorry, 1 pulse for 10 PulseX, that's not a very good ratio. 1 to 3 is more my baseline, right? So if the more PulseX you can get for 1 pulse, then that ratio gets farther and farther away from that base ratio of 1 to 3. Then you just go into the thing with a portion of your more appreciating thing. You go back into the thing that's less appreciating in terms of ratio trading.
Interesting. And then at that point, so let's say scenario plays out 20x on the first day, you get it into something else that you think is what you want to hold until there is a bridge. Is there anything to it other than that? You're just trying to play the ratio game, and what is the safest way to do that?
Pre-bridge, we wouldn't have a stable coin, so then you have to find value in some other way, right? And so I think we can establish that value is going to be those 3 tokens for sure. That those will appreciate over time. So you just want to buy, you want to take money out of the 20x thing and put it into the thing that only did a 5x, or take money out of the 20x thing and only put it into the thing that did a 1x, right?
Right.
The farther that disparity goes. Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, you're just trying to get a bigger bag of one thing instead of ratio trading into something else and getting less than you have of the other token, right? You're just trying to increase your bag size. Because they're all
you're just looking for more zeros after your account number in terms of not dollar value, but in bag size of PulseX and the Hex.
Yeah, I think that's the confusing part, because it's usually so straightforward. Okay, if you want to take profits, or if you want to get out of something that's went up a lot, you get into stable, calls stable, right? That's the idea. Otherwise, you're doing ratios. Is there you talk about from 20x into a 5x or something that maybe hasn't went up yet. Yeah, is that the only no-brainer move? Is there other moves?
Is there other moves?
Mm-hmm. Like, what if you're not sure? What if you're like, what if Hex is, let's say PLS goes way up 20x and then Hex is like, maybe it's 2 or 3x or something. Or what if everything goes up 20 or 50x? Like,
if everything you handle that the same amount of X's together, then there's no move to make, because everything
just hold.
First thing that I guess whatever one dips first is the thing that you try to put back into, but it would have to drop drastically though in ratio. It couldn't just be a little bit.
And again, obviously this is not financial advice. My strategy, I'm just going to hold I'm not really interested in trying to play the market game and win, because in my experience, when I play that game, I'm always the loser. And so I've learned my lesson. And I'm fortunate enough to have been involved in both sacks, and I've got some hex. I'm good. I'm just gonna hold it. And again, from my personal perspective, is all three coins are going to be doing very well. If hex is any indicator of how Pulse and PulseX is going to perform, like, because hex is basically the flagship token that Richard created. If that's any indicator, then they're all going to do very well, and I'm just happy holding. And in a few years, maybe we're all going to be really, really well off. We'll see.
Yeah, if it's like anything like Ethereum and Bitcoin, these floors are going to get made, and then you're never coming back down below them again. That's why the big risk is getting out of position, or like getting rugged on like some kind of like casino play that could come in terms of like a Pepe clone or some other thing that, or even Shiba, like any of those opportunities. They're high risk, and if you lose your stack, or if you lose a portion of your stack, going into this bull run, like what do you you better have a job, because how are you going to recover? Like I would just say accumulate that which has a proven track record, if you're asking these kinds of questions. And then for everybody else, what you're going to do, right? There's a lot of really smart people that listen to this that have plenty of good strategies, whether it be LP providing, using eFiat or the fiat system to like leverage your position and try to game the market, or I mean, there's so many different options that you can have out there. You can use the incentive token for the pool, the farms, to like you get yield. I think yield is the key here, because like if you can hold on to like a decent size of hex going into the bull run, like at $1 per coin, then you're sitting in a position where you can get meaningful like inflows of cash from cryptocurrency on a regular basis, which totally changes your lifestyle. Even if it's just 2,000 a month or 4,000 a month USD, that can be enough to keep you going, and it can really like change your quality of life.
Sure. I got one more community question, but I want to ask too, why you mentioned the frog. Is that some sort of signal? Is that something we should read into? Is that the sign of things to come? It's just meme country right now, or is it kicking off the bull run? Like, what should we think about the crazy X's that the frog did recently?
I think it was like a perfect setup, man. I think the guy. So the little bit of research done, like that, it turns out that the dudes that launched that project, that wasn't their first rodeo. They've been doing hundreds of those, and that was just happened to be the one that went viral. And the way that it launched, the initial allocation to the team was so small, and all of the rest of it was locked inside of an LP pool. So it created this opportunity for the early adopters, or this core group of users, to pump the price quite easily in those conditions, because when you use Uniswap V2 with locked liquidity, and it's all of the supply mostly, like it's a one-way setup for huge gains, and that's exactly kind of how Hex played out in the early days too. On Uni V2 is when we saw the biggest pumps in Hex. So it's like if under the right conditions and a curated chart, like you can really make it do whatever you want. And so that first leg was quite inorganic, but the second leg was actually surprising that they were able to protect the chart and take it another leg up. So, is that a sign of things to come? I don't know. I think actually Bitcoin dominance is rising right now, and Ethereum is kind of stalled out, and the gas fees kind of got out of control. Right now I'm seeing 71 Gwei, which is the lowest I've seen in a week or two, so that's promising. But then again, Bitcoin fees are now through the roof, so it's an interesting time to be in cryptocurrency. But I do think that this is setting up for that final leg up on Bitcoin to really take dominance, take control of the market, run up and try to check out 40K and see what that's all about before, setting up for like a kind of like a slowdown period going into 2024.
Yeah.
Is that good?
No, I was just going to say, I think things like this that happen, people on the sidelines see this happen in a bear market. They start to gain more confidence, I think, and they start to get more excited about investing or moving their tokens around. At least that's kind of what I felt. Is it just suddenly like sparked this enthusiasm that I hadn't seen in a while. That, I mean, we were all enthusiastic for PulseChain, but the people who weren't focusing on PulseChain, all of a sudden there's like this extra spark and all this interest, and everybody's getting excited again. And I think something like this happening could bring in more confidence, like people saying, hey, you know, I could invest in something and potentially change my life, like those early investors. And it could spark a bull market, you know. But I think it's definitely positive. I personally don't invest in those things, and I don't recommend investing in those things. I don't recommend any financial advice at all, but yeah, I mean, it could be a sign that things are turning around for crypto.
And they're getting their copy on PulseChain. But just on the Axis's point on V2 as well, where the price, the ability to have that kind of pairing versus on the differences on V3. So is that, I guess PulseX, right? So that's the V2. Is that the secret sauce? Is that why Richard's keeping it, V2 instead of even doing? Because I know PancakeSwap, I think, came out with V3 in April. So there is a way to, I guess, fork that at this point. Before it was kind of like, oh, now, it's based on PancakeSwap V2, which is based on Uniswap V2, but now there's PancakeSwap V3. Do you see that being like, is Pepe an example of like that kind of fundamental and what Richard's been kind of hinting around for a long time?
Yeah, I think that bonded, Hart's law and the whole binded liquidity thing, and the way that Uni V2 works versus how V3 works is, when you pair coins up against the native token, in this case PulseChain, in the old case, or in Pepe or Hex in the early days, it was always against WETH or ETH, wrapped ETH. If you're going to pair it up against the thing that's going to do well in the bull market anyways, it's going to appreciate as a function of being mostly tied to that thing. And so what you really have is like this Rube Goldberg machine of like the core asset's going to rise in value in the bull run, and so everything else is going to appreciate as a benefit. And then you have Uni V2 as like the conduit by which that's possible, versus V3, which is where you can get into like it's better for the market maker because then they can make more strategic plays on the chart. But yeah, I think it's good that we're starting with V2. I think it's going to be really good for price, and no insider knowledge. I just think that from the outside looking in, it just looks like an obvious benefit to the ecosystem in the early days, and V3 will eventually come down the pipe after we've already seen some returns.
Yep, I think so too. I think it's I was talking about maybe graphics the other day. We're talking about in the for the first maybe year or two, early days, launch time V2 is probably the best for fundamentals. And then after that, hey, Richard can sell the PulseX upgrade coming. PulseX upgrade to get everyone excited again for that. So it should be fun. One more community question, and then we'll move on. At Pulse Libre asks what kind of ratios to expect preparing buy-sell zones for pre-bridge. I know we kind of roughly talked about this, but what do you guys get on that?
I mean, was it the Pulse to PulseX ratio something like 1 to 3 not too long ago on PulseChain testnet?
Yep, 1 to 3.5 is what I've been seeing Pulse to PulseX. And then the Hex ratio has been different. It's, what is it, like 60 to 70 to 1 Pulse, roughly? I'm looking it up right now. I think, obviously the obvious one is 1 to 3 Pulse to PulseX, because the number of people that sacrifice for both, or the number of wallets that sacrificed for each.
Do you want me to share your screen access?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
So here you go. You got, 1 Pulse is 3.64 PulseX, and I think you can expect that to be, look at it, it's just oscillating around that. It almost got up to 4 here, and then dropped all the way up to 3.5 here. Started out at 3.35. So there's going to be like a 20% move, and this is like roughly 20-25% change, 20% roughly change in terms of over time Pulse to PulseX. But is it really worth ratio trading for 20% moves? Probably not. It's just more risk than reward. And unless you have an ARB bot doing it for you or something like that, that's a possibility. There's a lot of smart devs out there, so I'm sure that's one way that people are going to try and play this. That's also what's going to help maintain this ratio, right? And then with the hex, let's see what hex is doing. 1 hex is 81 pulse. And so over the week, it's been at 61, 78, 61, 81. So I don't know, what is that in percentages? 60 to 80, roughly.
So,
that's not much.
So what would 1,000 pulse be for, in terms of hex? Because that's the equivalent of like $1 sacrificed, right?
12 hex. When that would make hex a price of what, a little under 10 cents, right? I think. I'm just guessing. If 1,000 pulse is $1 based on sack price, and you're getting 12 hex per, it's like less than 10 cents per hex.
And if you're thinking that Pulse or PulseX is also going to continue to go up in value because it's just launching, who knows what the actual US dollar value of that would be.
Exactly. We can't know, but we can know that Hex did do some crazy things on the PulseChain testnets. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's probably not right. Delete or subtract this by like 90%, guys. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that looks a little. Are we still early?
I'd be okay with that.
I mean, I'm cool with it if rack them if you want to take us to $15 or whoever. Richard Hart.
The greenest of candles, documentary part 2.
It's so green, it literally shifts your whole thing is like green scale.
Dude, like instead of going colorblind, you just can only see green afterwards. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Like the Wojak memes.
Yeah, pretty much. Jay Gold has a question, guys. I have a couple questions. Would you swap 3 PLSX to 1 PLS? Would you sell PLSX at 3x after the bridge and buy the dip? And we'll have a long accumulation similar to ETH or even Hex. Yeah, whoa, that was cool. But yeah, whoever wants to take it.
Ooh, I mean, yeah, I mean that's a tough question. I personally think that PulseChain has a lot more hype than like Ethereum did when it launched. I mean, there could be an accumulation period, but it's just really hard to tell, especially with like all the hype and everybody's been waiting for 2 years and telling their friends, trying to get them into PulseChain. What do you think, Axis?
No, I wouldn't trade that ratio because that's what I'm considering the base ratio.
Yeah.
3 PulseX to 1 Pulse. So yeah, I wouldn't. If it got like 6 to 1, maybe you'd start to get a little excited to do it. And then when it finally got to 9 to 1 or 8 to 1, you're getting more because you got to think of it in terms of like 90% down, 80% down. So if 1 pulse equals 10 PulseX, then your ratio is down by 66% because we started at 3 to 1. Now it's 1 to 10. 10 to 1. So you effectively tripled. Pulse price tripled over PulseX, and then now you're in that territory where so PulseX is now down 66% relative to where you started, and then now you're starting to get into attractive zone. So 12, 14 PulseX to Pulse, and yeah, that's really attractive zone to start flipping back. And yeah, it's possible because pre-bridge, that's all people are going to have to swap into Pulse is PulseX. So it's good. If that ratio comes up, yeah, look at it and take action.
One more question from the chat before we move on. Crypto Keeper, do you believe an $8,000 USD day one sack for PLS is adequate, and where do you see it going? Feel free to reframe it as you like. Maybe it's like 10, everyone sacked around 10K.
Yeah, there wasn't many, right?
A lot of 1K, a lot of few thousand.
I remember seeing a tweet. I don't know if it's true or not, but they said there was like 15,000 wallets or something that sacked more than 500, and the rest was below that. I don't know if that's true, but that was just a tweet that I read somebody put out there.
Yeah, there wasn't that many people that has that much sacrificed for PulseChain. So you're in the position of power. Sitting on your hands for 2 years with $8,000 sack day one, you'd probably be very, very pleased. Anybody that got in with more than $5,000 doesn't have to do anything to be successful in PulseChain in terms of dollar value. If you have higher expectations, then you can take portions of it to try to earn cash flow in the terms of like LP providing for yield or staking hex, things like that. Incentive token farming through the farming pools, stuff like that.
Juyoung
I
just
found
sent me
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that happens, sure. Yeah, I'm cool.
I don't know if you guys saw this tweet when it went live, but I thought it was pretty funny. He said,
Wow.
"Okay, guys, I'll ratio trade."
That's what will push you over the edge. Seeing that.
That's right. Hell yeah. Give it to me day one.
I'm just going to check on Richard just in case. I know the chat will probably inform me as well, but okay. No mainnet imminent. None of those tweets yet. I can see. Cool. Man, it's sad to see Bittrex go down. Like at least US. I know,
it was kind of weird because they announced recently, I would say maybe 2 months ago, I want to say, that they were going to move their operations off the US soil. And now all of a sudden they're coming in they're going to file for bankruptcy. I don't know if that was pressure from the SEC and they're just like, all right, well, we'll fold and we'll just file bankruptcy and we won't pay you or whatever it's going to end up being, right? Then the SEC got what they wanted, which is, making crypto look weak and whether they got paid or not. And then Bittrex gets to pay their CEOs a hefty sum and bankrupts them. It's like, it's kind of it is what it is. It's early. It sucks, man. Some of my first trades were on that website back in the day. So
I'm with you. Yeah.
Back in 2017 when we had to like wait in line to get an account on their website because they were overloaded.
One of the few of the lesser scammy sexes. I'm all for dexes these days, but I think sexes were more sexy back then, and a lot of them did better than others. I'll say that. I remember when Binance was new, and like that was just insane. Binance, I remember like, oh, Binance is like that Singapore exchange thing. Oh, they're in the oh, interesting. Oh, it's a pretty cool interface. I remember that. Talking about the old days. Crazy. Now Binance is a bad word, but it was pretty hot when it came out. It came out of nowhere too. Got one more that I was actually thinking about today. So, this is something I don't hear anyone talk about very often. That's why I want to cover it too. All the popular ERC20s, we know we're getting the copies, SHIB, Blink, USDC, anything that's not ETH is not going to get diluted. But we know which ones will probably have value afterwards. A lot of the Hexicans will support the ones in the ecosystem. But after launch, the popular PRC20s, the popular copies such as SHIB, all the memes, all that stuff, will that, if you're a holder, if you're a whale in those communities, after launch and you got the copy, what opportunity would you see? Wouldn't you see an opportunity to get in to the okay, let's say the opportunity isn't to back their own coins. Maybe they see the opportunity of I have, a trillion SHIB, but whatever it is, a massive amount, and I can trade that to get a bunch of this Hex thing or get a bunch of this Hedron thing or so on. You think we'll see any opportunities like that get any ARB opportunities get filled like that from people not trying to back their own coins, but some of the bigger players from other communities trying to take advantage of just using their free copies to trade?
What do you think, Juyoung?
I mean, that's a tough question. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter posting like, "Hey, you're going to be getting this free copy on PulseChain," but I haven't really seen too many people from those particular communities responding back. So it's really hard to know how they're going to use their copies. It could be an opportunity if somebody wanted to be invested in a meme coin, which whatever, it's their decision. It could be an opportunity when there's like a lower value on PulseChain, or Yeah, I mean it's just really hard to see how that play out. I I mainly focus on like Hex and Richard Hart ecosystem related tokens. So yeah, I haven't done too much analysis there. Maybe Axis has an in with the Peep community or Shib.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, but I'm glad I don't. But check it out. Like, there's going to be definitely opportunity. Like, look at what is. Let's just use Hex as an example in Ethereum. Hex in Ethereum at the top of the last bull run, or even in the most recent run up. What do people value the most? Even over Hex is Ethereum, because you need that to transact. And so I think you're going to see that where value will flow that into that which is like the core. And I think the core in this case is PulseChain. And so yeah, money's gonna get pumped into like an altcoin, and then the price will rise rapidly. And then when the ratio gets so crazy, a lot of that money will flow back into the base unit or into a stable coin, depending on what part of the cycle we're in. So yeah, I think that's definitely going to be. And then as that money flows into an asset and then back into the core asset, it'll flow then into the next thing to pump, and it'll just be like a cycle of moving from altcoin to altcoin. And this is just called alt season in the traditional legacy crypto world. So it would be nothing new under the sun. It would just be the same cycle all over again.
So basically, it would be what's happening on Ethereum with Memecoins just on PulseChain.
Yeah, and I mean we should expect that you're going to have tons of new users that's going to come in just to try to game it and make it turn it into a casino. Well, what that does is it makes them transact in things like PulseChain, and then that gives PulseChain value and more transactions, more users, raises the price. So that core, economic unit is either going to be a combination. It's probably going to be a combination of Hex and PulseChain in my mind, and then eventually PulseX will take the load off of PulseChain, because PulseChain will just be the dumb pipe, and PulseX will store the value for PulseChain in some ways, in the same way that Hex will. So it's going to be a unique trifecta of a system, and the money will always flow back into those three core pieces in my mind. But yes, you'll see that for sure, no doubt. And you want that because that's what brings users into the ecosystem.
Oh well, yep. And then there's Mintra too. So you know there'll be NFTs, and I'm sure that'll be a pretty big market too. So I'm excited to see what kind of ecosystem pops up just organically in the PulseChain ecosystem.
I think onboarding is going to be insane. That's literally, I'm most excited to see which communities come over and just become Hexkins, become PulseGans, because they're literally, it's like an awakening. It really is like, Axis got me here feeling spiritual. It's like literally an awakening of this. It's kind of one of those things, like everyone says that, right? Everyone's like, oh, my ecosystem's the best. Oh, we were doing innovation, best technology, all this stuff. But it's funny because we actually are. Like, I look around and I try to find reasons not to buy in, not to be in this cult, some people call it. There's no reason not to be. We are set up for success, designed for success.
Yeah,
and
there's still people that believes that it's not a possibility that things like Hex can go do another 10,000x from 1.7 cent low, and it totally can. And it's because of PulseChain. It's a magnifier for Hex price performance. Because now we can get the price up there because people can buy it and not lose 30% of their stack buying it. If 100,000 people buys just $1,000 worth, that's meaningful to the chart. That starts those little fish nibbling at the supply is meaningful, especially at these lower price points.
Well, that, and then the community too. Like when I first started out in investing, buying Hex, I was watching all the Richard Hart videos that my friend had recommended to me, and that's where I learned a lot of like my crypto knowledge. And I feel like there's not a lot of people out there that put that level of knowledge out there in such plain terms that makes it easy to understand. And then you get other people in the community too that are just like, building free tools, building analytics. That's kind of what inspired me to build HSI Watch. And it's just, I've hopped into spaces for other communities just to kind of check what they're about. And it's just almost feels like crypto is the Wild West, and then like the Hex community is like one of the most coherent and I guess
They're aligned.
supportive communities. They like support. We support each other. We build things for free. It's not like if it's not just me that wants to succeed. It's like I want everybody who's with me to also succeed together. You know, so it's that camaraderie that really attracted me to the Hex community, and I've looked around and I haven't really seen that same sentiment in other communities personally. Other people may have. I don't know.
Yeah, I work
They
with a
definitely
guy.
feel more doggy dog than this community.
Yeah, and I mean, you do have that in the higher ranks of Hex, even where it's like very much dog eat dog for liquidity and stuff. But when you're talking about like the general user, it's undeniable that there's something else here. Even in the market, when the market's down 92%, it's still helpful, right? To the user, as long as you have some sort of knowledge about how to use it properly under certain gas conditions, right? I think that's like the thing is that there's a learning curve to Hex, but that people are willing to teach it to them for no cost, right? And I work with this guy named the Contrarian, he was basically a VP of operations inside of a commodity trading firm in Chicago for he was in the industry for 35 plus years, then left in 2008, right around the time of the great financial crisis. And he's traded his own portfolio now for almost a decade on the side, and while working at where I met him in my previous job. And he most recently went to this Hex cruise, down to the Bahamas, and for the first time in his life, he ever got to witness like a financial group of people, like a people that's like interested in this financial asset that it's way more the element of the internet and decentralization that brings to finance, and how exciting and interesting and supportive of a group or a community effort that it is. Like, he's never seen anything like that in finance in history. Like, you walk into your bank to set up a bank deposit CD, and it's nothing like going to a Hex meetup, right? There's a completely stark difference in the experience of sitting down for 0.4% per year versus controlling your money on your own from your home computer, and then having this huge community across all the different social medias that's all for better or for worse unified and dominating the crypto space. It's exciting, and it's never been done before. And he talks at length about that. There's a video out there from the Hex conference. I'm sorry, the cruise. There was like some people who came up and talk or spoke. And in there, he asked a question. So I'll try to find that quick and link it to you. Avid put it on his page, so you can go check that out if you want.
Yeah, no, definitely share it. It almost feels too good to be true. It really does. Like, this ecosystem ticks all the boxes and more. But it also puts you in control of your finances. And if you make bad decisions, it doesn't guarantee you gains. You have to remember that. Like, you're lucky enough to find this ecosystem. So don't take it for granted. Once you're in, like, be your own bank and make the decisions, as if your money depends on it, because depending on how much you put into it, it certainly could. A lot of people are trying to retire early. You can't do that gambling. You do that investing, from my experience at least. While we're here, I know that we'll wrap up here, and gotta ask when mainnet dev, when mainnet, and we'll start with the dev on stream right now, Dev Juyoung. When mainnet dev?
Oh man, I'm really well. Okay, so mid-May has been thrown around for a while. Richard's been tweeting more than usual today. I don't think it's gonna launch today. I'm really hoping it launches sooner rather than later, but yeah, exactly. It'll launch when it's ready. I have some friends too that are interested, that it's like it would be their first dip into crypto, and so I'm hoping that they can make it too, and that it'll help change their lives as well, as it changed my life. But if it launches in the next week or two, I would be happy, and that would give me enough time to make sure that all the PulseChain prices are pulling in properly in HSI Watch. So I would be okay with that. Next week would be awesome.
Yeah, next week's mid-May.
Next week is mid-May, and if you're guesstimating it mid-May, then it's still in play, and that rhymes as well. So it must be true if it rhymes, right? Like
yeah,
the
I mean,
rip
if we're getting that
the rip
merger
and dip.
today, and then you give them a week to iron things out and get it going. I guess, yeah, it makes sense, right? This week or next.
Exactly. Alan says that we should all get sun tattoos, and it's just like the regrets, no regrets, the commercial. Thune dog. Yeah, I do like Thune dog. Reminds me of Sodom. Anybody remember Sodom? I don't know if that's still around. I'm pretty sure it's dead.
I do. I remember listening to people who was talking about that on YouTube back in the day. I'm sure all of us that's listening to this used to watch all the 2017 influencers. Right?
Dude, I didn't. You know that's the funny thing. I only listened to like Richard and maybe like one other guy from time to time, but it's all Richard. Funny, like somehow I dodged crypto YouTube back in the day. It was nice.
You know, to this day, there's like really only like one person that I really think nailed cryptocurrency, Bitcoin specifically, and for the lesser part, Ethereum, since the 2018 bottom. That's one person, and he's amazing. I think the alpha coming out of that guy is ludicrous, but he looks at very long swing trades over many years.
But which guy is it?
If you haven't heard of him, his name is Steve Courtney, and he runs Crypto Crew University.
I think I've heard you mention him before.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite in terms of like long-term TA. He's always right, and he's right on time. So yeah, go check him out. I would like to see what he would say about Hex and PulseChain. He never says anything about those. It's like not even on his radar.
He has people in there super chatting him.
Yeah, well, he doesn't do live broadcasts either. It's all videos. So maybe there's a way that we can sneak into there and show him what's up.
Dude, I would love to.
X, bro.
Yeah, I mean, we need more of those people on our side. More people who see an opportunity and see that the health of this ecosystem, like the healthy games we're playing, and then we have a product that's so good. Once you see it, you just can't ignore it. But you have to see it first. You have to really see it and understand it. Once you do, I don't see a lot of people leaving for other stuff. It's one of those things. Gentlemen, what excellent stream as attested by the attendance today as well, of course. What do you want to take us out on? We'll start with Juyoung. What's good? What are you looking forward to, or what any closing notes before we wrap up here?
I just want to thank you for having me on. I know I haven't been on too many streams, and after HSI Watch V1, I was kind of out of commission there for a while. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me with V2 that launched, probably like a month and a half, 2 months ago. So this couldn't be there couldn't be a better community. I really appreciate both of you and all the things that you guys have added. I like Access is on another level with the technical analysis and just the knowledge, and then all the streams and things that you do, RHMax with even the validator scripts and things like that, and just trying to point the community to different projects and things that are going on. I appreciate, and it's an honor to be on. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Honored to have you on. The maker of HSIWatch.com. You've done some amazing work. So everyone, seriously check that out. It's a beautiful website. Lots of beautiful data as well. Access, what do you got, man?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on again for what I think is now our 6th or 7th go around. It's always awesome. We've been
I'll have to look
in person, and I only had to ruffle you up one time. But no, I'm just kidding. We didn't ever do that. We did do it.
When did when that happened? I gotta replay that one.
And Juyoung, it's been a pleasure speaking with you for now our first meeting, and I hope that we can do it again in the future and keep on your hard work. It's paying off, buddy, and I'll retweet and support you going into the future. It's always good to add another person on the team. And then if you can pull up my screen, if you ever been to this website called accessalive.com, if you scroll over here to the top tab called events, I got another stream tomorrow night. It's with cryptographics, and I don't know exactly
that should be great.
We're going to be talking about, but that'll be my first foray into the ring with him, and we'll just be going over, I'm sure, the Richard Heart ecosystem, among other things, maybe some market analysis and get the hot take on that. So for any other future streams and stuff, come back to the events page. I'm working on a blog, and there's a new chart set I just got uploaded today for May. So if you're interested in that, go there and click on that. Beyond that, yeah, just happy to be a part of the community, man. Just waiting for the next cycle, right? Accumulating my Hedron, Icosa, Hex bags, waiting for Pulse and PulseX, consolidating my funds, compounding my returns, being helpful for the community in terms of my presence on Twitter has always been a pure joy. And there's never a moment of less of excitement. So it's always awesome. So yeah, thanks a lot to you guys. And, I'll be here for many years to come.
Oh, I appreciate
Sounds good,
it.
man. Yeah, it's both of you. I mean, serious contributors to the community. I try to have utility myself as well. And again, anyone who wants to be a validator, you should check out my Twitter. I've got tons of links and AMAs. I've been doing like every day. I'll probably do one tomorrow if I have time. So I've been literally using all my extra time to stream, to answer people's questions, to create content, because I believe this ecosystem is going to the moon. And I want to help as many people be prepared for it. And it's a win-win. We all learn. We can all help each other. And this is a great time to be alive. I've never been more excited.
Hey, hold on. RHMax, can you run drawings like raffles like through here or no?
So if you're trying to give something away, I usually do like trivia, and whoever answers the question in the chat wins it first, like stuff like that. You want to give something away?
Well, either that or we could do like a hashtag, and then you could run the scrambler or whatever. It don't matter to me.
I did do that with Dev Huey. Honestly, I don't remember.
If it's not set up, we'll save it for next time.
It's not set up right now. However, I don't mind to do that. Yeah, we can just let me know, and we can raffle some stuff off for sure.
All right, cool. Well, man, how do you run the trivia thing? Whoever gets it right, or how? Like now?
The first one in the chat with the correct answer wins.
All right, think of a really clever one while I'm explaining this. All right, so
okay,
I got this book here. I was on the cruise, and these two German guys named Johannes and Falk, they wrote this book called The Power of Hex. This is a pre-release copy, and I'm giving it away to one of you lucky winners now, whoever answers the question right to whatever question that he's about to ask. So check this out. It's an awesome book. It's probably one of my favorite hex books ever written, and it's about 250 pages, I think, roughly. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, 125. But still, it goes through everything from like easy entrance into crypto. Then it shows about the price chart, how to read it, like what T-shares are, blah blah blah. It's pretty cool. And this is a pre-release copy, so if you want to try to win this, let's give one away.
Wow! Wow! Trivia, surprise trivia, everyone. Okay. Juyoung, do you have anything on top of your head for RH trivia or Hex ecosystem trivia?
Everything I was thinking, they've already put the answers in the chat.
Okay, I have one, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a good one, but I have a question that we can use, I believe. Yes. Okay. Let's just. Yeah, I got a couple easy ones, but yeah, let's go with this. Okay. So, who is we believe to be everyone? Okay, real quick, the rules, everyone. I'm gonna say the question. The first correct answer in my chat, not anyone else's chat, in my chat that I see coming through my tubes, will win the book access given away. So, on 3, everyone ready? 3, 2, 1. Who is the secret Hexican we believe that said Richard would not come to America last year, but then Richard came and he capitulated on the answer? Who is this? We believe could be a secret Hexican. He likes to have a lot of fun with the community. He said Richard wouldn't come to America. Who said that? Oh God. We got some good answers. We got a winner. You got to say the full name. And it wasn't Godwill. I love it though. It was, I think, Bearded Saint. Yeah, Bearded Saint is the first one that got it. Bearded Saint, Eric Wall. We also have Erica Wall here. Also a great guess. It would be acceptable, but you weren't the first one. Awesome. He does call himself Erica Wall on Twitter, so that's valid.
Right,
Gumby. Somebody said Gumby. Alan said Biden. Richard didn't say. Richard actually said the opposite. He said he'd come anytime. He didn't want to, but then nobody believed him, and then he actually did it. BitBoy, Crispy. Who's guessing crispy on this? What was there some controversy?
Satoshi.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Satoshi, he came out and said that'd be something. All right, Bearded Saint.
Hey, Bearded Saint, put your Twitter handle in here and I'll follow you, and then we can DM. I'll get your info.
Yeah, and if Bearded Saint, if you somehow don't do that in the next couple minutes, also you can @Axis Alive, right on Twitter @Axis Alive, and just be like, hey, I won the trivia. It was Eric Wall. Now he got me saying Eric Wall. Crispy, wait a minute. I know, right? Crispy? What's the story? What's the story? Shane Schuler, a recent guess. It wouldn't surprise me if he said it at some point too. Trayvon James, yeah, misspelled it.
So in other words, Eric Wall.
Ricky Lake. Shout out to Ricky Lake.
To be clear.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
Oh, I said it. So in other words, Eric Wall's got a track record of being wrong, right? So.
Well, don't tell him that, okay? Don't tell him that. He's a secret. He's a secret well.
He's been being pretty hot, like feisty lately. So, all right, brother, I'm gonna follow you, and then we can DM and get this thing shipped off. All right, brother. Appreciate everybody for participating.
Yeah, no, thanks for the surprise trivia. That was awesome. Yeah, anytime anybody wants to get something away on stream, just let me know, and we can do the secret picker, or not secret picker, the #retweet picker thing that Dev Huey and I did, or I just do trivia because it's fun to see people's guesses do. So, all right, everyone, go follow these gentlemen if you aren't already, and you want to hear some smart stuff coming out of smart people. You got @DevJuyoung. He changed his Twitter to it's not Hunter FX something I remember last time. So
yeah, I didn't even know I could change it. So
yeah, Elon did that for you. You're welcome. It was before that. And then @Axis Alive, axisalive.com, HSIWatch.com. Go check them out. And with that being said, Scivive and 5555. We are out.